Welcome back to Fog of Work. This is where we shine a light on the hidden realities of corporate life and uncover the truths many of us face every day. With decades of experience in corporate environments, I've seen firsthand how work shapes our lives, and not always for the better. In this 5-part series, we're uncovering the truths behind the return to office policy that many companies are forcing on their employees. Today, we'll dissect the polished propaganda statements used by companies to justify these policies and reveal the true state of things they don't want you to see. I'm sharing this information as someone who has been forced back to the office to send emails and host Teams calls while sitting at a sterile, hot desk after I paid to my company for parking and coffee. In today's corporate playbook, companies are rolling out strategies to make returning to the office seem beneficial. From orchestrated surveys to selective data, they're working hard to convince employees that returning is in their best interest. But the truth lies hidden behind polished statements and catchy slogans. To make this easier to follow, I've grouped these corporate claims into 3 categories: control and monitoring, collaboration and belonging, and economic justifications. Let's take a closer look. I'll start with control and monitoring. The common statement is, office presence boosts productivity. This claim doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Remote workers are often more productive, logging fewer interruptions, and completing tasks more efficiently. What companies are really saying is, we don't trust you unless we can see you. This mindset reflects a traditional approach to management that equates productivity with physical presence rather than outcomes. It also suggests a lack of trust in employees' ability to manage their own work without constant oversight. By forcing on surveillance rather than results, companies risk alienating employees and reducing overall morale, and I clearly see it in reality. Employees across various industries have raised concerns about return-to-office mandates, noting that productivity often improved during remote work periods. This underscores the need for companies to evaluate whether physical presence truly adds value or if such policies are driven by outdated managerial habits rather than tangible benefits for productivity or employee well-being. The other formally stated reason is offices are safer for cybersecurity. This argument suggests that remote work creates risks for company data. However, modern tools like VPNs, encrypted cloud storage, and multi-factor authentication ensure that remote setups are secure. The issue isn't security, it's the outdated mindset of relying on physical office setups to control digital systems. Modern cybersecurity tools are widely accessible, and many companies that prioritize remote work have implemented these successfully. The reluctance to invest in modern infrastructure may also stem from a desire to use security as a convenient excuse to enforce office attendance. By failing to adapt, companies expose their true resistance to change rather than addressing genuine risks. Many organizations transitioning to remote work have strengthened their cybersecurity infrastructure, often observing fewer security issues compared to traditional office setups. This demonstrates that the issue lies not with remote work itself, but with the willingness of companies to invest in modern solutions. By using cybersecurity as a reason to bring employees back to the office, companies avoid addressing their own failures to adapt to secure remote work environments, which have become an industry standard. One of my favorite corporate lies is, the office provides a better work-life balance. In fact, remote work eliminates commutes and offers flexibility that office setups can't match. Employees report higher work-life balance when working remotely. Companies are not protecting your balance. They're creating a narrative to justify rigid office structures. Forcing employees back into offices often prioritizes the company's convenience over individual well-being. This approach ignores the stress caused by commuting and the inflexibility of office schedules, which directly contradict the concept of work-life balance. Ultimately, the claim fails to address employees' actual needs and instead promotes outdated norms. It is widely recognized that remote workers often report better work-life balance compared to their office-based counterparts. This is largely due to the flexibility remote work provides, allowing employees to better integrate personal and professional responsibilities. Companies that enforce return-to-the-office policies under the guise of balance fail to recognize that true work-life harmony comes from empowering employees with autonomy, not from imposing rigid schedules and commuting burdens. The second common group of corporate lies is collaboration and belonging. Companies often state that we need foster collaboration and innovation. They claim that being physically present in the office fuels collaboration and sparks innovative ideas. However, remote teams can collaborate just as effectively, if not more so, with tools like Slack, Zoom, Teams, and Asana. The push for collaboration is often a thinly veiled attempt to regain managerial control. While companies frame this as a productivity boost, the reality is that innovation and teamwork thrive when employees feel trusted and empowered, not micromanaged. Forcing physical presence undermines the flexibility that modern tools provide, reducing employee satisfaction and potentially harming long-term creative output. Many companies initially reported increased productivity during remote work periods. This reveals that effective collaboration does not depend on physical proximity, but rather on trust, the right tools, and a flexible mindset. By clinging to outdated notions of teamwork, companies risk alienating employees and stifling genuine innovation in favor of micromanagement. However, many have since mandated a return to the office, citing vague reasons like collaboration, despite no evidence that innovation suffered remotely. This one is laughable considering the current state of relationships between employees and employers. Being in the office is essential for preserving company culture. Companies argue that culture depends on physical presence. In reality, remote-first companies have built thriving cultures without an office. What they are really afraid of is losing control over how employees spend their time. True culture is built on mutual respect, inclusivity, and shared values, which can exist regardless of physical proximity. Using culture as an excuse for return to office mandates reflects a failure to innovate and adapt to changing workforce expectations. Forcing in-person attendance fosters resentment rather than loyalty. Many remote-first companies have found that fostering a strong remote culture can lead to higher employee satisfaction and retention compared to traditional office settings. This demonstrates that culture is not tied to physical spaces, but to shared values and effective leadership. Companies that insist on in-office presence under the guise of preserving culture often fail to recognize that trust, inclusivity, and clear communication are the true pillars of a strong organizational culture. Another formal reason calling to our morality and compassion is young employees need mentorship and career growth opportunities. It's true that mentorship is important, but remote programs can provide structured guidance just as effectively. Virtual mentorship tools and regular one-on-one sessions have proven successful in fostering growth. As someone who hired, onboarded, and trained remotely most of the people in my department from co-op students and interns to managers, I can say that the importance of in-person communication is highly overstated. This claim is often a smokescreen to maintain traditional office dynamics. By ignoring the benefits of virtual mentorship, companies demonstrate a preference for control over adaptation. Digital mentorship, when executed well, offers more personalized guidance and flexibility, enabling meaningful professional growth without the need for physical proximity. Clinging to in-office methods limits opportunities for modernized career development. Many companies have adopted fully remote mentorship and development programs, offering structured weekly sessions that provide personalized guidance and growth opportunities. This approach often results in higher satisfaction and engagement compared to traditional in-person programs. By modernizing career development strategies, companies can foster meaningful mentorship without relying on outdated office mandates. Embracing these methods empowers employees and supports their growth in a way that aligns with current work preferences. I've heard a few times that random interactions spark great ideas. This notion romanticizes the idea that casual hallway chats leads to breakthroughs. In fact, they lead to sharing negative employment experience by abused employees, which increases the level of resentment and turnover rate. If we speak about creativity, then structured brainstorming sessions, even virtual ones, are more effective than random encounters. What companies are actually doing is justifying the sunk costs of office leases. Romanticizing casual interactions as vital to creativity ignores the effectiveness of intentional, structured collaboration. Virtual brainstorming tools and deliberate planning can achieve the same results without unnecessary commuting or distractions. The insistence on in-person attendance reveals an outdated view of innovation, them as effective, if not more so, than in-person meetings for generating successful ideas. This highlights the potential of planned and intentional collaboration in a remote setting, where diverse perspectives can be brought together seamlessly. By letting go of outdated notions tied to physical spaces, organizations can embrace innovative methods that better align with modern work dynamics. The other controversial corporate slogan is, "We want to create a sense of belonging." Belonging is about inclusive policies and meaningful connections. Remote teams can achieve this through virtual meetups and inclusive communication practices. This is really about surveillance and control masquerading as connection. Genuine belonging stems from inclusion, respect, and recognition, not from being physically present in the same space. Virtual environments, when thoughtfully designed, can foster deep connections while respecting employees' autonomy. By tying belonging to office attendance, companies risk alienating those of us who value flexibility and trust. Personally, I don't want to cultivate my sense of belonging to the corporation that tries to squeeze out of me as much as possible, while paying as little as it can until it kicks me out just to show higher profit numbers at the end of a period. Many remote-first companies have successfully fostered inclusive cultures and achieved high levels of employee engagement without relying on physical office spaces. This underscores the fact that belonging and connection are built on respect, communication, and shared goals, not on forced physical proximity. Companies that rely on in-office attendance to create belonging push away employees who value flexibility and autonomy, ultimately undermining the trust required for a truly inclusive work environment. The last corporate lie in this group, and an obvious BS, is employees are happier in the office. In fact, happiness surveys consistently show remote workers are more satisfied due to reduced stress and greater flexibility. Companies are prioritizing their happiness, not yours. The idea that employees are happier in the office often stems from a desire to validate office investments and justify traditional management practices. True happiness at work is rooted in autonomy, flexibility, and respect, qualities that remote work often enhances. Forcing in-office attendance overlooks these critical factors, undermining genuine employee satisfaction. It is commonly observed that remote workers often report higher job satisfaction compared to those required to work in office. This satisfaction comes from the freedom to manage their own schedules, reduce commuting stress, and the ability to create a workspace that meets their individual needs. By enforcing return-to-office policies, companies risk undermining these benefits and ignoring the fundamental drivers of genuine employee happiness. The last corporate lie I want to talk about is related to economic justifications. Companies claim that returning to the office is necessary for the economy. While downtown businesses depend on office workers, this argument shifts the burden of economic revival onto employees. The pandemic showed that economies adapt, with remote work driving growth in suburban and rural areas. In my humble opinion, it was a positive effect, allowing people to spread over wider areas and further from overpopulated city centers, where they had to work from 60 to 80 hours a week just to keep the roof over their heads. This would solve many of social problems, at least here in North America. Companies care less about the economy and more about protecting their own commercial real estate interests. They often shift the burden of sustaining downtown economies onto employees, expecting them to sacrifice time, money, and mental health. The assumption that physical office presence is necessary ignores how economies can adapt and thrive in the face of remote work. Forcing a return undermines progress and innovation in workplace practices. Cities have seen economic growth despite a high percentage of remote workers, proving that adaptation is possible. This challenges the notion that physical office attendance is essential for economic recovery. By shifting focus to supporting remote models, economies can evolve to be more inclusive, diverse, and resilient in the face of change. So there you have it, the carefully crafted narratives versus the reality. All these propaganda statements serve one purpose: to benefit the company at your expense. Whether it's about control, maintaining outdated systems, or offloading economic burdens onto employees, the truth remains the same. It's not about us. Propaganda thrives in ambiguity. That's why it's so important to stay informed, ask the right questions, and see through the fog of work. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and make sure to watch part 1 of this series, where we look at the return to the office policy through the lens of the workspace evolution. And stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore the destructive impact of forcing employees back into offices. Thank you for watching Fog of Work. Together we can bring clarity to the systems that shape our lives. Don't forget to check out my other videos for more insights. Stay sane and see you in the next one.